Welcome everybody to tonight's Invasive Strike Force survey training, part 2. We are going to be covering survey procedures and reporting for our Invasive Strike Force survey program. So if you have not already, make sure that you watch part 1, which focuses on species ID of the 5 invasive species that are going to be on our Invasive Strike Force survey list this year. This is part 2. So for those of you who are here, you've completed part 1. Now what? What's the next step? Well, we're going to learn the data collection process tonight. After this webinar here tonight, you are then going to be assigned, probably in early June, in a section for you to go out and survey. It's going to be about a 1 to 2 mile section of trail to search for these 5 invasive species that you learned about in part 1. And then it's up to you. That's when the fun part begins, right? You're going to have the full field season whenever you get your assignment to go out and complete your section, and then ultimately return your data to us. And that is the fun part about getting out is applying what you've learned here to opening up your eyes and seeing what's around you, invasive species and native species as well, and of course enjoying the beautiful views of hiking in our region. All right, so here we go, guys. Here's your war cry. Let's do this together. It's a team effort. As I said before, invasive species are a big issue in our region, and no one person can do it alone. So this is really a part of a bigger effort for citizen scientists to come together and help map these 5 priority species. All right, we're going to get right into it, guys. Step 1. The first thing that's going to happen is that if you have not already, you will soon be requesting and then receiving a survey assignment from me. For those who are returning surveyors, I already sent out a surveyor questionnaire, which prompted you to choose a trail section, kind of just some information about you as a hiker, whether there's any limitations, how far are you willing to hike to start your survey segment, and then a park that you're interested in surveying. For example, this might be something that you've always wanted to explore or that's convenient to your home. So very soon, if you have not received this questionnaire from me, I will be sending that out towards the end of the webinar. In that email, when you eventually get your assignment, you're going to also get directions to your trailhead, a trail section or trail map, or at least point you in the right direction. You're also going to receive a very cool quick ID guide of the species to print out and take with you, a data sheet for recording invasive species in the fields, as well as links to training workshops for review. I wanted to show, first of all, the quick guide that Christy helped to recreate. Christy is also here tonight. She did a wonderful job with this. So this is part of what I'll be sending out to you. We created a quick ID guide for the 5 species. So just a reminder that we are looking for tree of heaven, spotted lanternfly, beech leaf disease, Asian jumping worm, and what will be ultimately in June if you go out surveying Japanese spirea. And we will be releasing a video on that very shortly, but for now it's in size few more. But I did just want to show you very quickly as to what this quick ID guide looks like. It's got some pictures as well as some like quick snapshots of what ID features to be looking for with these species. Alrighty. Once you have received that, we are on to step number 2. You're getting prepared, you're ready to go, but the first thing that we got to do is get all set up with our IMAP Invasives account. And what IMAP Invasives is it's New York State's official reporting database, but it can also be applied in New Jersey. So this year, New Jersey residents and New York residents are going to be able to use IMAP Invasives. Now, in my last email I sent out to you guys, I did give you instructions for how to get this account, but this is very important. You have to get an account on your computer first. So through the website, you need to get an account. So I'm going to show you what that page looks like and kind of take you through those steps if you haven't already. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go to nyimapinvasives.org. Christy, if you could add that to the chat, that would be great. So
Sure.
that stands for NewYorkIMapInvasives.org. And when you get to that site, if you don't have an account already, this is going to be your home page. And all you're going to do is you're just going to go to this button right here, create account. Very simple. You're going to be clicking on that, and that'll take you to a screen that looks like this. This is not rocket science here. You're essentially going to fill in your first name, your last name. You are then going to type in your email address. All right. Retype that email address, create a password, and then retype that password. Okay. This is my message to you guys is once you create this IMAP Invasives account, please save your email address, which will be your username and your password. You will need that in the future, and it's just good to save these passwords so you don't forget it. The last thing that you're going to do is where it says jurisdiction. If you think that you're going to primarily be surveying in New York State, you are going to choose New York from this list. If you think that you're primarily going to be surveying in New Jersey, you will choose New Jersey for your list. You're just scrolling down, and then eventually once you're done, you're going to hit join. Okay. If you don't know whether you're surveying in New York or New Jersey, it doesn't really matter. You can just choose New York. It's fine, since this is New York IMAP Invasives website. So that is the process to creating an account. Once that account is set up, you will receive an email from the IMAP Invasives team asking you to activate that account. So make sure that after you get the account set, you check your email, you check your spam. Sometimes the message goes straight to spam or junk folder. So just make sure that you activate that straight away. Adrian, we're going to hold the questions off to the end, but keep that question ready to go or put it in the chat. Okay. And let's see, going back to that sign up sheet. Once you have that account, you should be good to go. All right. Getting now to step 3 is now that you're set up with an IMAP Invasives account, we are now going to do a separate thing here. You need to go to your app store on your phone or Google Play if you've got an Android. And essentially, you then need to sign up for the IMAP Invasives mobile app. Once you have that mobile app on your phone, just be thinking, what phone do you want to go use to survey outside? So just if it's your partner's or whoever's, make sure that you're using the phone that you think you're going to go out and survey with. And then you have to set up just to kind of use the app, and you need to connect it to your IMAP Invasives account. So when you first get into the IMAP Invasives mobile app, you're going to get to this sort of welcome screen. You'll see some scrolling on there. Just this is just essentially like a welcome page, essentially, for your IMAP Invasives mobile app. So you're just searching on your app store, downloading this, and then once it's on your phone, you open up the app. This is what it's going to look like. Your next step, okay? This is a very strange welcome screen. So you basically going to tap on this, and then you get a green screen here with a button for add observation. And then this is essentially your menu button. See those 3 lines up there? That's your menu button. When you first get into your mobile app, you are then going to click on that 3 lines. That's going to pull you down a menu. At that point, you are going to select preferences from that menu. Just think of it as a pull down menu. Now, remember, I am recording this. So if you haven't done this already, don't worry about it. I recommend getting the app on your phone. And then once you get the recording of this, having it out with you and going through the steps as you're watching the replay of this webinar. Don't feel like you got to frantically jot this down right now. Okay, in that preferences menu, once you click that, you are now going to get to this screen. This is just all initial setup stuff, guys. That's all it is. Okay, once you're through this, you're good to go. All right, in the jurisdiction species list, this is the first pull down that you're going to have to select. You are going to select either New York or New Jersey. Whatever you select, just make sure it matches your IMAP Invasives account that you already created on your home computer, right? So we want the app to communicate with that account. So if you set New York, set it to New York here. If it's set New Jersey, set it to New Jersey here. Okay. Remember how I asked you to remember your IMAP Invasives username, right? Here is your IMAP Invasives username, whatever it is, enter it in there, put in your password, and that's pretty much what it needs to then like communicate with your overall IMAP Invasives account. So just make sure you have that information. You only will need to put this in once. That's it, once into the app, okay? This is an absolutely critical step, absolutely critical. So I can't highlight that enough. Once you get this information here, the jurisdiction species list, the username, password, once you're in, you have to click this button called Retrieve IMAP List. What that does is it pulls in all of the species in that state, that all the possible invasive species you could choose from in that state, okay? So once you hit that, you will really only need to do that again once, just to load all the species onto your phone, essentially. Okay, the next thing that we are going to do is under this menu, species name display, just choose common. We are primarily using common names when we're talking about the survey program. I'll use tree of heaven, beech leaf disease, spotted lanternfly. Those are common names. They are not the Latin names. So I would just choose common so that you know what species that you are looking for, because we're going to customize that species list according to our survey. It also prompts you to ask, what does your picture quality want? IMAP app requires that a picture be submitted if you see one of our invasive species on our list. I like the picture quality to be really good. I choose 100%. If you want to save some phone space, you can do 50%. But I like to, when I'm posting and I want it to go to this official database, I like to have good pictures. So I choose 100%. Okay. I also choose to save the photos to my phone. You do not need to do that. I just like to have the pictures just in case something goes wrong. I can later delete them if until I'm like uploading, but you can just choose that button down there if you want. Okay. The last thing that you're going to do is once you're in that map, you are then going to click on this customize species list. Once you click that button, it is going to take you to this next screen. Okay. It is essentially asking you, what species are you on the lookout for? So that you don't have to scroll through like hundreds of invasive species and choose the one. We're now setting up a list that is custom. So you don't have to scroll through like hundreds of invasive species. When you find it, you can just scroll through like the 5, okay? These are the species that I would like you to scroll through and select. Spotted lanternfly, tree of heaven. For now, incised fumort, you could also look for Japanese spirea, okay? So for either of those, you might have to add the species for the next month. Japanese spirea is another one that you could add to your custom species list. Beech leaf disease nematode, it's called. Jumping worms, so under J, so essentially just scrolling down and selecting these species that you want to customize your list for. And just for the purposes of today and training, you can also add fake species for testing. You don't have to do this, but it's just something that you can, just if you want to practice. So I'll provide an opportunity later to practice with the IMAP app if you're interested. You can add fake species for testing. Once you have selected all 6 of these, it might be 7 if you added Japanese spirea, hit OK right here. You selected your species, you hit OK, you're good to go. That's going to take you back to the main preferences page and this screen again. The last things that you might add are where it says default project, okay? You can see on my phone that default project is Lower Hudson Prism, general. You do not need to do anything with that. In fact, I would like you to leave this blank on your preferences screen. Leave it blank for now. I will personally add you to the Lower Hudson Prism project. You don't need to do anything on your end for now. Okay. The default organization, we get a lot of requests to join New York, New Jersey Trail Conference as an organization, but do not add that. Leave that blank as well. Right now, I have Lower Hudson Prism on there. Do not add that. Leave that blank. Okay. So that ends the preferences. That's it. Once you are done, all you need to do is hit save. And this whole process of setup, you'll never have to do again. That's it. Okay. So now you are set with your IMAP Invasives mobile app. You are ready to go. So now we're on step 5. Time to get almost time to get out there. You are going to review and grab your quick ID guide, which I'm going to send you soon. That was the one that Christy helped make. And I'll be sending out shortly with some other information, including part 1 webinar, all the species IDs. You guys are going to have that available to you. And I recommend reviewing the quick ID guide. That is going to be a paper version that you can print out at home. I would also recommend reviewing the webinars just really quickly, just scanning through it, making sure you got your IDs down, as well as got your procedures down. I would also recommend before you go out to your survey site to have a fully charged phone. You want a fully charged phone while you're out there to help take pictures. You got to load things, so make sure it's fully charged. I would take multiple copies of your field data sheets with you, okay? I'm going to show you what a field data sheet looks like in a second. It's going to be slightly different from years past. And also make sure that you grab a trail map. I will try to send some details on the trail that you are surveying, but if you have a map of it, or you can use Avenza Maps. I am not making Avenza Maps a required app to use this year, but of course you can use Avenza Maps, which is essentially like a map on your phone that you can see where you are along the trail. You can use it this year. It's just not required for our surveyors, okay? And the last thing you got to do before you head out is just review directions to the parking lot. In that email that I sent to you on your trail assignment, I'm going to give you directions for where to park and where your trailhead is, so you know exactly where you're going to be beginning your trail section to look for these invaders, okay? Plug it into your phone, good to go. Drive to the parking lot, get to your trailhead. That's pretty much it. Then the fun part begins, right? It's about collecting the invasive species data. I'm going to do a quick overview of the items that you're going to be recording on your data list. So you're going to be printing out these data sheets that I'm going to show you in a second, but let's go over a couple of these here. You are going to be recording on your data sheet, and I'm going to show you in a lot of detail. You're going to see me in the field recording all of this. The number of beech trees in your survey area by size class. You're going to report whether you saw any and to what extent you saw beech leaf disease, that's BLD. You're going to be marking jumping worm presence or absence. You're also going to be recording the number of tree of heaven that you found in your little survey rectangle. I'll show you that in a second. You'll also be recording spotted lanternfly, presence or absence. And you'll also be looking for presence or absence of that EcoQuest challenge species. For the month of June, that's Japanese spirea. For now, it is in size fumort. And for each of the 5 species, you will also be logging an IMAP record for each species. I also provide some space for writing down some notes as well. I'm just going to go over, this is what your data sheet for this year is going to look like. I'm going to go over this in an educational video in about 30 seconds. But just so you know, you'll be recording what survey area you're in, the number of beech, approximate beech that are mature, signs of BLD, jumping worms present, approximate number of tree of heaven in the survey area, spotted lanternfly present, was the EcoQuest species present, and a prompt to tell you, did you post whatever you saw to IMAP? And then there's going to be a notes section. So I'm going to go over that in a minute. All right. Before we get to a video of me in the field actually collecting this data, and there's going to be plenty of time for questions and a walkthrough here, I wanted to show you and think about what the big picture is going to look like for you, okay? You are essentially going to be looking around you for these 5 invasive species in an imaginary, well, it's not really imaginary, but just think about it as a 30 by 100-foot survey rectangle. So let's say this is you. You're the hiker. You're the surveyor out in, and this is your trail assignment. This is where your trail assignment begins. Imagine walking about 20 paces or 50 feet into the center of this survey rectangle, okay? That's represented by the dot. You are then going to look to your left and to your right about 15 feet. That's what we considered old surveyors trail side for these 5 species. So you're going to be looking at that area you just covered to get to the center of your rectangle for these 5 species in that first initial 50 feet that you just walked, and then an additional 50 feet. And as you're doing that, you're looking to your left and you're looking to your right, essentially trail side for these 5 species. That is the big picture of essentially what you're trying to accomplish here, okay? That's your first survey rectangle. Say your trail section begins here, you're walking in 50 feet, you're looking as you go, do you find any of these invasive species here? You're then going to walk an additional 50 feet, look to find if you saw any there, okay? Once you're done with that first survey rectangle in which you walked 20 paces in, we then, from there on out, it's going to be a much greater distance in between there and where your next survey rectangle is. I really want this year to feel more like a hike, like you're enjoying the walk as well and not stopping every so often. So the next thing, after you've looked for all 5 species and done everything, you are then going to get from here on out for the whole rest of your trail section, you're walking 100 paces to get to your next survey rectangle, which is approximately about 250 feet. When you get from one dot to the next, walking 100 paces, you're going to do the same thing again. You're looking for your 5 species in that survey rectangle and recording and reporting on your field data sheet, as well as to IMAP invasives. So hopefully this makes sense for you guys. This is my best go at clip art. Try to make it simple for you guys. But then I'll show you right now, like as to what it's really going to look like in the field. Okay. Before I forget, these 50 feet and 200 feet distances are estimates. Do not stress out if you're like, oh my God, I forgot to count. Don't worry about it. They're just estimates. We're trying to get a ballpark idea of what is found out there on the trail segments. Does not have to be exact and down to a T how many paces you're walking. Try to keep it consistent. If you forget to count your paces one time, it's not the end of the world. This is the other thing I want to say. For each of these survey rectangles, right, you're going to be looking for the 5 species. You're going to record the number that you found in your field data sheet. But when it comes to posting for IMAP, you only need to make 1 IMAP record per species per rectangle. So say right here, you found Tree of Heaven, okay? You do not need to post a picture and upload to IMAP every single Tree of Heaven that you found in there. You're going to record it in your data sheet, but you don't have to upload 50,000 Tree of Heaven per survey rectangle, just once. Just need to know what was there in your survey rectangle. And in the notes section, you can add about approximately how many you saw, okay? You can always add more data points. So for example, there's going to be some areas where you're not surveying, but if you're like, oh man, I really want to report that, I'm not going to stop you from reporting something in between the survey areas. You can do it. It'll be more time consuming, but if you get into a grove of beech leaf disease and you're not seeing it anywhere else, I'd rather you report it than you don't report it. But I'm just trying to make it a little bit easier so you're not reporting all of the time, right? Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to take you through the exact process that you are going to go through. Remember, you're going to receive an email from me on what you're looking for, okay? And then you're going to go out to that survey location and do your best to record species along the way. So there's a lot of nerdiness that's going to happen here. It's me out in the fields talking as a surveyor. So you'll just have to bear with me here, but this is the best I can do. All right. I forgot to record in portrait. I apologize. So you'll be looking at it as if it's my phone. Okay, here we go. I'm going to walk you through the exact process here, guys, and I'll take questions at the end. All right, I am here and I'm ready to survey. I've got my parking assignment. I know where I'm going. I am ready to get out for a good day of surveying and looking for these 5 invasive species. Look, I even got my trail conference volunteer swag shirt on, which you guys are going to get at the end of the survey as soon as you are finished. So something to look forward to, and let's get after it. First thing to do is, of course, make sure you're in the right place. And I know that I was assigned myself, I should say, Nature Study Woods. And I'm going to read the park advisories, make sure that we are following the rules here. I do want to point out that most of the parks, just like it says here, are a carry in, carry out facility. That means we leave no trace. Whatever that we pick up, we put back the way it came. We're going to be courteous and make sure that, we're kind of leaving the place more or less undisturbed. So that's the first thing to look for. I know I'm in the right place, Nature Study Woods, and now I'm ready to go. Okay, now I am really interested in looking for these species at the beginning and close to trailheads. So once you get to your assignment and you know you're in the right spot, the first survey rectangle is going to be slightly different than the rest. So you are going to walk in 50 feet because a lot of invasive species tend to hover around the trailheads because that's the most disturbed area. So that's why I'm doing the rectangle. It's only 20 paces in right at the trailhead because, as we all know, disturbed areas, those that get the most disturbance, like through construction, you put up trailhead signs, whatever, that's where people are most of the time disturbing the soil. That's where invasives tend to be. So I wanted to make sure I got that you get the trailhead well surveyed. So I want to make sure that we survey the area in and around the trailhead. So I am only going to walk in on my first square rectangle in 50 feet. And we are approximating 50 feet by 20 paces. So that's the first thing we are going to do. Walk 20 paces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, of course, I cheated and I walked it out before, but I just wanted to show you that I usually mark the center of that survey rectangle by like my bag or a water bottle, just showing you what I'm bringing with you. I didn't have a clipboard, so of course I brought my soccer clipboard, which works, whatever works for you. But the main thing is that I've got my survey data sheet that I showed you earlier and will be passing out. And I am now in my survey rectangle number 1. All right, I know I'm going to be looking for the approximate number of beech trees in the survey, approximate number of beech that are mature or greater than 6 inches in diameter. So this will allow me to see what percentage are really big trees versus like more sapling size. And then I'm looking for signs of BLD, jumping worms, tree of heaven, spotted lanternfly, and our EcoQuest species, right? And then I'm just giving you a little bit of a reminder, I guess, did you post to IMAP, our official reporting database, just making sure that once you've checked all these boxes, you're good to go. And of course, you can write down any notes, like you can give me notes to pass along, whatever you're observing. Got to also make sure that we are writing the dates. So we are at 5/24/2022. My trail segment name is I've got Nature Study Woods. I will give you the name of your trail segment in your assignment. So you just write that down in your data sheet. The name will come with the email. All right. I'm the only volunteer here, so I'm going to write in my name. But if you happen to go out with a partner, make sure we got everybody's name on there on the permanent record. I'm going to have my start time be 12:30 p.m. And of course, at the end, when I am done, I'm going to write down my end time and then keep kind of a running total of the total survey time. So, of course, you may come out another day, so just make sure that you're tallying the total survey time until you complete the survey. Some people do it all in one day. Some people do it over a weekend. Some people do it over a couple of months that they finish their assignment. So that is where we're at. Making sure that I'm ready. I've got my water, I've got my bag, maybe a snack, my clipboard, soccer or otherwise. And I know that I'm now starting to get ready to look for all of these species and the columns that I need to get. All right, so here I am at the middle of my survey rectangle. So what that means is I got to look 50 feet back in the direction I came from. So there was a start. Remember that trailhead sign? And I've also got to search 50 feet in this direction, which we haven't quite explored yet. I'm looking for essentially beech trees, tree of heaven. All right, so let's just kind of scan around here, as well as the other things on the list. But those are the big ones that you're looking for, that are immediately obvious, and see what I'm seeing. Okay, I'm looking for incised fumort on the grounds, not really seeing much. Oh, look, this is kind of looks parsley-ish. Oh, nope, no purple flowers. That's good old mugwort. That's not going to count. All right. This kind of looks potentially beachy, right? Maybe. Kind of seeing the leaves. But don't be confused because this is a birch tree. And I know it's birch because it's not quite smooth. And you see those lines kind of running horizontally. Birch. Right. Remember that beech trees are going to have smooth bark. These are lenticels running like essentially laterally across that. Beech trees do not have that. Trees tend to have that sort of like peely bark to it, right? And those lenticels actually is what causes that. They kind of run horizontally. So I'm looking at a birch tree, and I know it's hard to see here, but remember birch trees have that serrated knife margin on it. All the shadowing that I'm seeing here is shadows. There's no signs of beech leaf disease because it's not a beech tree. I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so I'm looking all along here, and I will just say that I did not see anything previous to this. And you know, here we got some maple trees, obviously, not seeing anything around me. No purple flowers. Looking for those beech trees. No, not looking good there. Let's keep on walking. Okay. So in the first 50 feet, I really didn't see much. Okay. Now I'm back here. Now I got to walk 50 feet in the other direction. So I'm more or less like counting my steps. And remember, I'm just looking trail side within the first couple of feet, like 15 feet to my right and left of the trail. No, I got to get to 20, right? And let's just kind of keep looking here. Not seeing much. No purple flowers. I'm not really seeing any tree of heaven. Oh, wow. Look at this. Uh-oh. What do we got here? Let's look up. Oh, boy. See that? This is not good. You guys see what I'm looking at here? That is definitely beech leaf disease. I'm seeing the stripes. Let's just make sure that I'm actually looking at a beech tree. Yep, here we go. Look. Elephant skin bark, smooth. Let me take a look at the leaves. Does it have the wave crest on it? Yep, that checks out. So this striping pattern that I'm seeing, most definitely beech leaf disease. So now I got to make sure that I'm recording what I need. So I know I've got a beech tree. Let's look at the diameter. Oh boy, that's pretty close to 6 inches. I'm going to call this a mature tree. I'm going to say that it's bigger than. So I've got one birch tree and I'm really at the edge of my survey rectangle. I'm looking around. I'm not seeing much else. Not really seeing any saplings. This seems to be an isolated beech tree, and it most definitely has beech leaf disease. I'm really looking around and I am not seeing any other beech trees around me. And if you miss one, it's no big deal. The fact that we have found this and located it is the biggest part. All right, so back to my data sheet. Remember, that was survey rectangle number 1. The approximate number of beech in the survey of all age classes, I really only saw 1. The approximate number of beech that are mature, that one tree that I saw, I'm going to call it mature. It was right off that cutoff of greater than 6 inches. Just be consistent about it. That's the most important thing. Signs of BLD in the rectangle. Yes, absent, and I would say present. Now, of course, when you have multiple trees, these two are important here. If you just got one tree that has it, I would just call it present, as opposed to extensive. Yeah, that one tree had it, but really to kind of be considered extensive, I really need to see lots of beech trees and greater than 50% of those trees impacted. Okay. The main thing is to be consistent, guys, with how you're marking it, right? You'll know the difference between extensive beech leaf disease in that survey rectangle and just like a lone tree. I didn't show you jumping worms. I'm going to show you that in a second as to how to survey for that. So I'm going to skip that for now. I didn't see any tree of heaven. All right. So I did not see any SLF because that was not, we did not find any tree of heaven. You only survey for SLF if you found a tree of heaven. And remember, I was looking for purple flowers. I saw none. So I'm going to put A for absent. Okay. And then remember, it's prompting me. Did you remember to post detected or not detected for IMAP for each species? I'm going to show you how to do that now. Okay, I'm actually going to keep walking. I'm going to walk down the trail a little bit further, but I'm going to be going over posting the IMAP plenty of times here. Just bear with me. Alrighty, so let's just say I'm done with my first survey circle, right? Remember where that trailhead began? I've registered my beech tree. I keep saying survey circle because they used to be survey circles, but it's survey rectangle this year. Didn't find any tree of heaven, didn't find any incised femur. We're going to talk about jumping worms in a little bit, but let's just say, just for the sake of argument here, that I am now done, ready to move on to my next survey rectangle. Well, from here on out, you're not just walking 20 paces in, you are going to be walking 100. So what you are going to realize is, obviously, if you're walking 100 paces, you're going to miss some surveying space, right? So that's okay. We are really just trying to get a representative sample of the trail and have it feel more like a hike. So in between, stretch your legs. Let's walk 100 paces to get to the center of our next survey rectangle. So I'm going to now start walking 100 paces. You will do the same, and then you're going to start it all over again. Be looking for beech leaf disease, spotted lanternfly, Tree of Heaven, our EcoQuest challenge in size Fumort, all right, and jumping worms. And then we will begin with our new survey rectangle and do that data sheet. Just keep adding. The next point will be 2 or survey rectangle number 2, and we will be good to go. And you just keep doing that till you finish your trail section that you were assigned. So best of luck. I'm going to show you how to register some of the other species along this hike here that I've assigned myself, just to do some repetition so you guys are feeling confident and comfortable doing this on your own. All right, coming down another point to my survey rectangle, almost at 100 paces here. And there we are. Gonna put my bag down, kind of take a look around me a little bit. There goes the bag. I know I'm at the center of that survey rectangle, and just look around. Aha, I have a sneaking suspicion that this is a tree of heaven. Well, let's go up to it and let's make sure. All right, I know I can look at the bark, right? Boy, that's looking pretty smooth. Feeling a little cantaloupe-y. It's got a big diameter. All right, let's take another look at another angle here. Kind of walking around. Let's take a look up in the trees. Oh yeah, it's got that palm tree appearance. It's got that palm tree appearance. It's got the opposite leaflets. And it's got that cantaloupe rindy appearance to it on the outside, kind of that, pretty hallmark feature of it. So I believe that's a tree of heaven, okay? We're going to mark that later, but I also wanted to show you just another sign within the same survey rectangle. Here is a tree of heaven that's just down the way. And typically if you got the big tree, you're probably going to have the smaller ones. And this is a good opportunity to kind of take a look at the leaves. We know that the leaves have those notches at the base, right? And you can see that it's got that gland on the end there. It's got that notch, smooth margins, kind of coming to a tapered point there. All right. Of course, the smell. Oh, yeah. Kind of like that burnt rubber smell. This is all pointing towards that. Let's take a look at those leaf scars. Let's get it right by my thumb. Oh, yeah. That's looking like that little Pac-Man, right? That kind of like almost like a heart-shaped leaf scar there. Here's a really clear look at it. So I am very, very confident that we are looking at tree of heaven. So of course I'm going to mark this in IMAP. You can see the lenticels above me. So I will show you now kind of how to register that on IMAP as a tree of heaven. I'm feeling pretty good about this being a tree of heaven. So now I've got to register this on the IMAP. So right now I'm just screencasting my phone. You're going to be out there with the phone, right? So now you got to load this observation of the tree of heaven to IMAP invasives. Now we saw the big tree of heaven. You're going to see that I had already posted that, but now I'm going to register that smaller one there. Remember, you only need to post one. You're going to see that I posted 2, but you only need 1 per survey rectangle. So let's take a look at how to do that. Invasives mobile app. So I'm going to click. You see this one down here? That's what it looks like. You have the right app, IMAP app. It's got a little bug and like a leaf associated with it. I'm just going to click that app right now. This little button way down at the bottom, IMAP app, it's got a little bug and a leaf on it. Going to click that. Okay, I am going to now go up to the upper right hand part of the box. And sometimes the zoom thing is in the way here, guys. Like I know what mine is right now. So just make sure that like you're going to go to this green button here, add observation. Add observation. And the first thing I'm going to do is take a photo. I'm now looking at it again, right? This is what we just. Okay, so if we go back there, that went kind of fast. Hold on. See this? Take photo using camera. Once you hit that button, it's then going to like essentially go right to your camera function on your phone. And the first thing I'm going to do is take a photo. I'm now looking at it again, right? This is what we just saw. Going to take a photo of it. All right, here we go. This is going to be confirmation that I'm definitely looking at tree of heaven. I could also, take a picture of the big trunk over there, that cantaloupe rind one that I took. I'm then going to, in the bottom right, say use photo. All righty. Now the next thing you can see down here, right, as I'm scrolling, okay, you'll have the picture. We've already taken the photo, and now I've got selected that custom list. So now, okay, this is the next thing. See how this is checked custom list? Do you remember that we set up our custom list? We set it up with the 5 species, right? So now all you need to do is you saw the tree of heaven, you got its picture up there. You're just going to select tree of heaven. And then eventually I'm gonna say species detected, right? Because you saw it in that survey triangle.
Now I gotta say what it is that I was looking for. All right. And of course, I'm now going to select Tree of Heaven. I know that I've seen it here. I've got my photo. I'm going to click species detected. You can see right under that, your phone will automatically know that it's May 24th. This is when I'm taking the video, of course. It already has its longitude and latitude for you. And you can type things in.
And remember, you're not going to have anything in the project line here. I told you to leave it blank, or the organization. That's fine. There's a couple of different other functions you could do here, like time searched, size of area containing invasive, distribution of invasive. You really don't need to fill those out, guys. That's just it's sort of a time suck. If you did want to add some observation comments, this might be the place to write like, oh, I saw, like 4 tree of heaven in my survey rectangle.
Like the time searched at this, but you don't feel like you need to. You can also say that, you can also put in notes like the size of the area containing the invasive, but we already know what that is. You don't need to fill in these pull down menus. But of course, if you wanted to write down some observation comments, you could. You could say things like, all right, found 3 tree of heaven. Whoops, tree of heaven at this site. You could put in notes like that, but don't feel like you have to. Okay. And there you go. It is loaded.
Okay, it's loaded properly because all of a sudden it's going to take you to this. So you have your yellow box that says species, tree of heaven, detected. Now remember that I had already loaded one. I didn't show that in the video here, but I know that's the picture I took. It says the date, it's loaded. It's good to go. You did it right if you see that yellow box.
All righty. So now I've got my tree of heaven uploaded. Now, of course, I got to do the next part and look for spotted lanternfly nymphs. Remember, at this stage, they're really feeding on succulent growth. So here's that tree of heaven that I showed that I had uploaded. So I'm just basically scanning this plant and any tree of heaven in my survey rectangle for the presence of that black nymph, right, with the white polka dots on the back. Now, of course, I'm just showing you this. I have done a search. We see the leaf scar there, but I'm looking up and down the plant. Here's another one right by it, looking for the presence of that spotted lanternfly nymph. Now, after searching just for a few,
if the tree is buried in a bunch of vegetation, I'm not expecting you to go straight up to it. I'd recommend maybe bringing binoculars if you want, or just kind of scanning it from whatever distance you want. We're looking at this trail side in and around the vegetation of where the tree of heaven is. This should be pretty obvious that, they're moving around pretty quickly. They get knocked down from the trees, like upper leaves during storm events and stuff. Sometimes they just fall off and then they got to crawl back up. So just kind of be scanning the area around the tree of heaven for the presence of these. Don't feel like you got to get in there.
Few minutes, kind of in and around the area, looking for presence of those little beetle-like nymphs, right? I can then have to go and say that I did not find spotted lanternfly. So I'm going back to my phone, back to my IMAP app that I'm clicking, and you can see that I've loaded, right, a couple of the tree of heaven, that big one that we found, right, that big one with the big trunk. I looked on that one. You can also see that I've now loaded the one, the sapling, but now I'm going to add an observation at this site, and now I am going to do this for spotted lanternfly. Now, I did not find spotted lanternfly at this site, so you do not need to take a photo of a species that you did not see, but I'll show you how to add.
I mean, that makes sense. A lot of people ask, do I need to take a picture of something if I didn't see it? No, you don't have to. You do, that does not, not detected. This is what I want to say. Not detected is a very important data point. It doesn't, it doesn't like, it is just as important as anything else. So make sure that you log species not detected there.
Add a species saying that I searched this site, but I did not find anything. So as you scroll down, you see a species. It says none selected. I am going to hit and pull the pull down for spotted lanternfly here. There you go. You can see that it is hit. And I'm now going to say species not detected. So I'm clicking that. I know that that's registered. I've got my observation date. It has the location. It is all good. I can say the time searched. I can add observation comments if I want, but you do not need to. All you need to do at this point is just say, I searched for spotted lanternfly here. It was not detected at this site in the survey rectangle. And all you need to do is hit save. And now you've got it. You know that you've done it right when it says species spotted lanternfly not detected, and it automatically saves, that record there. And you are now good to go. A little further ways down the trail, I'm kind of keeping an eye out for all the species that we are looking for. And I have stumbled across our EcoQuest Challenge species. Here we go. This is incised fumewort. I was looking for those purple flowers, and it's very, very clear. Look at that vuvuzela, right? Imagine that being blown at a international soccer game. There you have it. I've got my purple flowers twirling in my hands here. And look, doesn't that look like little parsley leaves coming out of the base there? I've clearly got the purple flower that I am looking for. And if you take a look around here, it is kind of taking over this area here. There's a couple of species that are mixed in here, but I've definitely got a decent population of incised fumewort. All right. So let's load this observation into IMAP. All right, it is good to have repetition on this stuff. So let's go into our IMAP app. I'm going to click that. And now I'm going to add the observation of incised fumewort if I saw it. Okay, so remember, this is a species that I saw. So here I am going to take a photo using the camera. I'm going to get a good shot that really highlights the ID features of this flower. So here's a good example here. We've got the clear flowers.
This is important to get a good picture, as good as picture as you can. I know that someone asked if you can't get a picture of something that's moving like a spotted lanternfly. It's okay. Try the best you can. If not, still post it. But even the ones that you can hold or see, try to get the best picture you can, because we on our ends need to validate that it is what it says it is. So the better picture you get, the better.
So we've got that like the parsley-ish leaves in the background. I'm going to snap that photo. I am going to say, select to use the photo. And remember now what we got to do now, right? We got to select our species. I've got my custom list. I am now going to say incised fumewort, and I will say species detected, and all the other observations stay the same. I'm going to scroll down where it says save. Of course, you can always add observation comments, but don't feel like you need to. Hit save, and now we got it officially registered and loaded. I have now detected incised fumewort, and I can see that it's...
So you can see that we just are creating this ongoing list as your survey goes on and on, right? Okay, we're almost at the end here, folks.
Incised fumewort, and I can see that it's got its own yellow box. Last but not least at this site, here's the trail. I'm just going to find a little area where I can see some leaf litter, where it's relatively clear. Make sure you're not bending down to where poison ivy is, but this is my incised fumewort area. So this is the survey rectangle that I am looking for. And all I'm going to do with my hands is just kind of pull back the leaf litter here. And let's see if I find anything. Let's see if I see any wriggling worms. All right. Oh, there is a worm there. There's a couple of worms here. We see that they are at the surface. So the question is, what type of worms are they?
Okay, this part is important. I want you to pay attention, because if you haven't seen them before, I was literally doing this on the fly here. So you're seeing it in real time, like how I was exploring. My best, if you're not squeamish, try to prod the worm, and then you see the reaction. That's going to be your best bet. Okay, just watch what happens here.
I'm going to disturb them a little bit, and let's just see how they're moving. Let's see, are they panicking? Oh, Lord. There you have it, folks. That is classic jumping worm behavior. So roll it over, and it is...
An earthworm does not do that. I hope you guys saw that in the video. It's just, that snake-like spasming, okay?
It's not looking good. You are going to notice, however, that it is still, it doesn't have its clitellum at this point. So it's still like they're kind of in its younger stages.
This is what I want to point out. I just realized the other day when I went out. They're still young. The eggs hatched just not that long ago. as the summer goes along, you're really going to see that milky white clitellum. But right now, your main cue is going to be the movement pattern, and then looking for the ground coffee droppings around. Okay, but it's mainly going to be movement. Okay, I'll show you some of the differences in a second with the earthworm. Other things to look out for.
But you can tell just simply by how it was moving when I first disturbed it. You can see that there's a very, very small head on it. And even though the clitellum hasn't like fully formed yet, they're still immature. You could just tell by that movement that that was definitely not earthworm behavior. Look at the differences here. So you see that one that was thrashing around like crazy? That's a jumping worm, obviously. Right next to it, we got ourselves a night crawler. Okay. And you can see at this time of year, the night crawlers are much like kind of bigger, thicker, more developed. You can also see just, how much faster that is moving, right? Now with the earthworm in my hand, let's take a look at that relative to it. You can see that.
Do you see all the coffee ground stuff around it as I'm handling this as well? That's another good sign. But let's take a look at this earthworm I'm holding.
You can see that it's clitellum. Whoops, if I can get that.
Okay. That's the earthworm's clitellum. It is raised off its body, very clearly raised. It also clearly has segments on it. That's how I knew that was an earthworm. It's also at this time of year typically much bigger.
Into focus. You see how it's raised? See how this clitellum is raised right by where my thumb is? I can also see the segments on it. And yeah, the jumping worm at this point is not developed enough to have that milky white substance on it. But you see how this earthworm is just moving much slower, and it's got a raised clitellum that is segmented. So that's some of the differences you might notice now, but it's really that almost like jerky spaz behavior that you were looking for. The only other signs that you can see that we are dealing with jumping worms, so if I can get this into focus, I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to focus here, is you can start to see those little ground meat granules here.
And you could really see it in my hand, but you see the little ground meat stuff here too. It's as they get older, guys, it's super obvious, but at this younger stage, they're still developing and a little bit harder to tell. Okay. With that, we are pretty much wrapping up here. I was just posting. Okay, let's get to this last little bit here.
Worm, of course, he's nice and calm now, which is good because I'm trying to take a picture of him. Okay, let's take a picture. Say use photo. I'm now going to select the species. Jumping worm, species detected, and now I've got my record. Now look, I've got all these yellow boxes. I've now found my jumping worm and size fumort, spotted lanternfly not detected, tree of heaven, and a couple of tree of heaven that I found and reported. That's where we're at this point. All right, can't forget about our data sheet. So just remember that we are in survey rectangle number 2. So there it is, put down 2. And remember that in that first survey rectangle, we found that one lone beech tree, right? But in the second one where we found all these other species, I didn't see any beech trees there. So I'm just going to mark 0s for that. Of course, there was no BLD to be observed. There were no beech trees. But here we actually did find jumping worms. We found the presence of them. So we are going to write a P for presence. All right. In terms of the approximate number of tree of heaven in the survey rectangle, I found 3 that were there. I saw no SLF present, so I'm just going to mark that with an A for absent. All right. And in terms of our EcoQuest species presence, remember, incised fumort, definitely there. Going to write a P there. And did I remember to post detected or not detected to IMAP for each species? This is just a check. And of course, we did that in the first rectangle as well as the second one. Any notes, of course, you can write here, but this is just a reminder that for every survey rectangle, you not only do your IMAP uploads, but let's have a paper record just as well with a little bit more detail than we can with our IMAP records. That's it.
All right. So that's what it's going to be like for you guys out on the trail, essentially. If I can get out of the screen. And, I just wanted to walk through with a lot of detail there, guys. The last step is essentially ending the survey for the day. Just remember that you then need to fill out your end time, your total survey time in hours. Okay. You'll eventually be reporting that to me. And then there's one more important step, the last step, guys. You will have all these yellow boxes. They're all stacked up on one another, but they are just kind of on your app right now. They're on your phone. They're not officially loaded to IMAP Invasives. The last thing that you need to do is officially upload it. It's a really easy two-step process. For every yellow box that you have, you are going to click that little box there, okay? Then you are going to click upload selected. You're going to select all those check marks, however many boxes you got, and then just hit upload selected. This may take a while and is sometimes very annoying with IMAP Invasives. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it doesn't. That's why I always recommend doing this with Wi-Fi, okay? So stick with it. If it doesn't work the first time, keep trying. It'll eventually get uploaded, but I recommend doing this at Wi-Fi. You can do this in the field. It just takes up bandwidth, but I always do it close to Wi-Fi when I can. Okay. That is pretty much it. People can stay on the call to do some practice stuff if they want to practice with this, but I'm just gonna leave you with a few remaining notes here. When you go out to survey for us, of course, beware of ticks. Wear long pants, long sleeves, and do a tick check when you're done. You also do seed check, right? That you're not moving invasive species along the way. Beware of moving vehicles, of course, just safety stuff. Watch your footing if you're in rocky terrain. Most of the trail assignments won't be in private property, but if so, just be mindful of that. And of course, be aware of poison ivy, okay? Poison ivy, 3 leaves. Also, hairy roots, right? So this kind of hairy stuff, do not touch it. That's poison ivy. All right, packing right. Multiple data sheets with you. A clipboard. I don't care if it's a soccer board, bring something. Pencils, GPS units with batteries if you want, or a fully charged phone. That's very, very important. Bring a trail map if you can. Camera, binoculars, maybe knife and clippers if you want, if you're trying to get in and out of places. Plan ID guides. I showed you the quick ID guide. Data collection protocols, right? That you can bring that along. And just usual hiking gear stuff. Make sure you're well hydrated. A snack, sunscreen, bug repellent, all that kind of stuff. Last summer was a brutal summer for bugs, and I imagine the same. So make sure that you are prepared. All right. Last but not least, returning your data. Once you've fully completed your trail section, you can send us an email to let us know. I am then going to send you instructions as to how to get your data sheet back to us so that everything you wrote down in the field gets back to us. The IMAP stuff you're uploading on your own, they no longer have to send it to us. It's going straight to the IMAP folks. We used to be the middleman. We are eliminating the middleman on that. You're sending your data right to IMAP Invasives. I'm not going to overwhelm you with too much information on returning data just yet. Just get through the survey process, have fun with it, look for these 5 invasive species, and we'll worry about returning the data later. Okay. Eventually, I'm going to send you a follow-up email with the following information, confirming or relaying your assignment to you. Including directions on how to get there, some description of the trail section that you're looking for, the forms that you will need for data, all that kind of stuff is going to be sent to you. You'll also have to sign a volunteer service agreement that may come from Katie, who was our volunteer coordinator, or from me before you start surveying. You might have to fill out a form. And then also a Google Sheet or form. That's what you're going to submit after you finish surveying. But that's on the data return side. Do not worry about that right now. All right, so that is it. Good luck, everybody, with your detective work. At this point in time, I'm happy to take questions. I'm going to stop the recording here. And for anyone who wants to practice uploading to IMAP Invasives or to learn about how Seek by iNaturalist and how that can help with the surveying process, I can stay on for a little bit of time to walk you through what Seek is. I had asked you to download it ahead of time. I have found it to be an extremely, extremely useful device for learning IDs very quickly and for kind of bolstering your confidence as to what it is that you are looking at. It's an optional app that you can use that tells you in real time what your phone is looking at. That might be a confidence booster for you guys. So I can stay on and talk a little bit more about that with those folks who want to. But with that, I am going to stop the recording there, if I can find where the recording is. And thank you all for coming and attending and walking through this with me. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you very much, guys. Again, thank you so much to our volunteers. You guys are great.